Dummy Swish Pod. The boys are
Yes,
back. How are you,
sir.
Chris?
Yes, sir. Quarters feeling like 54/7. We always ready. I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, good weekend. How you doing, bro?
Good myself. Good myself. The Dan Carters of podcasting here to give your
Mm-hmm.
opinions, our flagrant takes, and of course, feel free to give us your own takes, give us your own thoughts and comments in the comment section, and let's keep
Yeah.
those subscribers going. Let's keep those likes going.
Mm-hmm.
And then church announcements. Obviously, you can find us here, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the socials. Yeah, Bok Week has come, the first Bok week,
Hey.
and I guess there isn't much to take from it in terms of lessons learned. I don't know how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. I think maybe more lessons is, we found out some things about, certain guys, and we're seeing it with I think Tshituka earning and deserving, his start this coming weekend, his first test. Um,
Yeah. Let's
things like
actually start there.
yeah,
I was getting away with myself. Let's actually
yeah.
start there. News of the week, news of the day. Starting team versus Italy. We've got Oxenchair, Marks,
hmm
Low, Etzebeth is back. Loet is back for a second time. We've
hmm
got Van Staden, Kolisi still out. Vincent Tshituka earns his test debut.
Yeah,
Um, Visa is back. Fairflight keeps his place. Pollard's back. Arendse, Dialendi, Kriel captain. First time it actually counts.
again.
It was
hmm
captain last week. This is the first time it actually
Yeah,
counts.
yeah.
Colby. Willemse also is back for the first time, I think, since the
Back.
World Cup. We've got Mbonambi, Vessels, Koch, Archie, Franco Mostert, Kwaka. Faf, also someone that's coming back. Willie LaRue, also
Mm,
someone that's coming back. How are you feeling
yeah.
about that team versus Italy?
Look, strong team. It's you know what? I'm even. Let me have a sip of this because
The wine.
man, I'm expecting to have a big meal this weekend, pasta and wine. This team is a serious team that is put together. Yes, you've got some experienced
Yeah.
campaigners coming back. Got, other different types of combination being tried, like the Van der Berg, Pollard, and Faflight also, getting, a second go,
Yeah.
So things like that, like I mentioned, Shituka. I mean, you look at the front row, it's a bit Diaga. I mean, it's a strong team, and you're expecting this to be really, I think they want to just continue and build on the Barbarians' performance, because definitely there were some other guys that also put up their hands. And I think, yeah, it's shame, man, you know.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but like the thing is, yes, Italy, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a test match, but the Springboks should win, you know.
It's
Uh,
not gonna it's not gonna be a challenge, I can tell you that. Not gonna be
but
a challenge.
they have their own objectives, quarters, They're a test nation as well, they're going to want to disrupt and do things, but
Yeah.
yeah, Springboks
I mean, the
will.
disruption, it will be better. I won't, yeah, I can't lie there. Obviously, they'll have had more preparation than the Barbarians, but if we're looking at the strength of the team, essentially, I'm going through the forward pack, front row, that's the strongest, barring injury. Locks again, besides Luat getting him back integrated, that's the strongest, barring injury. Same
Mm.
thing with the loose forwards. We don't have Peter Steph Toy, we don't have Kolisi there.
It's a bruising the loose
Backline,
trio.
yeah, backline, that is the strongest. Fairflight is the only one that filling in there, and then Willemse, whether you want to go with
Yeah,
your LaRue or you want to go with Fassi, it's
yeah,
debatable. So yeah, like you said, strong team, majority, majority, the strongest team that we sort of could put out.
yeah, So no real complaints, quarters. You're just expecting to see them build on, the way that they played. Where you could see they wanted to, attack more, willing to, backing themselves, that belief in, taking on defenders.
Yeah.
you saw some good things there. So that's why I say shame, man, because there's a the dynasties is that I've been calling for. It's starting to come together because now there's doesn't matter now. It's looking like doesn't matter who's there.
Yeah.
There's a core and they can work around that core and still put out a strong team. And that's what we've been calling for. Now the results are just gonna have to back it up. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm looking forward to a big meal.
Yeah, we've spoken about the guys that are there, but let's talk about the guys that aren't there. Just an injury update. Nhunu, I think he's suspended, or is no, I think that, I don't know. I'm not sure that I think that was an injury or suspension. I'm not sure with him. We've got
Mm-hmm.
Malherbe, he's out for the season. Jean Klein 6 weeks. Back next week, Sia. We've got Grant Williams, Mapimpi, Peter Steph
Mm.
Tutoy,
Listen
and
to that.
then Jean-Luc. And I mean those guys that are coming back next week, those are starters. We talk about
Listen
the
to that.
guys that are filling in. You've got Sia, that's a starter. Williams, that's a starter. Mapimpi, depending, and
Yeah,
then you got
he
Peter
can
Steph
be a
Tutoy.
starter. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. That it's well underway. It's well underway. So um, with those guys coming back, it's just going to it's a scary prospect, especially in terms of you look at what they're doing and when you see the off
Yeah,
field stuff that there's some serious work being put in, and how you can see the Bok environment out there, certain players, and we saw it this past weekend. It lifts, and
yeah.
yeah, quarters like I can't help but say it, enough that shame, man, shame, you know.
Yeah, just to touch on some other guys, rugby championship, we should see Steenekamp and Jean-Luc
Hmm.
Dupree. I don't know. This one I have to ask you. He's off this week for the birth of his child. He was
Yeah,
out of the box, I think for last time he played was I think 2023. He came back,
yeah.
had I think just about a first half, then got taken off. Now the baby is coming. Would you go off or would you put your hand there to say no? I can play and then go. I mean, I think it was Mapimpi that played and then went. So
Yeah, look, I think we don't know the circumstances really, but I mean, if you that close and you got the taste and you've done well, you want to back it up again. But I think the environment,
so you're
like,
saying you're saying
I'll,
you'd play. You're saying you'd
I'll
play.
play. I'll play. I'm playing. I'm playing because I mean
Yeah,
now you got the you got the taste and it's like let's be honest he looked good
yeah,
link up good carries very strong and he didn't really make many mistakes good hands so like how I was this is what I was sort of expecting from him
yeah,
so I, me, I'll play. I would say no. Look, I'll
yeah.
be
For
there.
for me, it
No,
depends. If it's if
I'll
it's the
be
first
there.
if it's the first child, I'd go. If it's the second or third child, I'd be like, no, I've already.
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Your first. If it is first, I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. But I was like, no, I'll be there.
But anyway, moving on, like you said, he had a good game. I'm
Yeah,
not a massive supporter
I
of
know.
his, but to
I
be
know.
fair, he had a good linking game, some good
Yeah.
carries, unfortunately taken off there. Um, yeah, and like I said, takeaways from this game, not much in terms of the weather was bad,
Mm,
mixed with the preparation of the Springboks and the preparation of the Barbarians, if that's what you can call it. I mean, guys arrived on Monday, they didn't have a full squad. Guys slowly came
yeah.
in throughout the week, and it's hard to put together a solid game plan. It's hard to put together a solid set piece, especially in that weather. And the Barbarians, they're going to want to run the ball, they're going to try their trick plays, but the weather was against them in that aspect. And again, going back to preparation, the Springboks have had so much preparation that they weren't going to fall for any of those tricks. And I think what we're
Yeah.
seeing there is also the value of the alignment camps, in
Yeah.
that guys were all on the same page. There was no one that looked like they shouldn't be
Yes.
there. And I
Yeah.
think the value in those alignment camps is also
Mm,
they're bringing
I
guys
love that.
in
I
that
love
have
that
been
quote.
around for months, some of them even a year before they're making their debut. They know
Mm,
everything inside and out. So it's not a
mm.
situation of previously where you give a guy a chance, he messes up, then you throw him away. It's like
Yeah,
these
yeah,
guys have already been integrated way
yes,
before they
yeah,
even get on the pitch. So
yeah,
I think we're seeing the value of those camps and the value of the large, because it does look ridiculous when you're getting squads of 50 players. It looks
yeah.
ridiculous. But we're seeing the
Right.
value now when Nklabakanye comes on. He looks like he's been there. Tshituka
Yeah.
scores, what is it, 2 tries. He looks like he's been there. All of them,
Mm,
basically.
yeah. I mean, you know, Libo coming in and just, you know what, saying, yeah, I'm still here, I'm
Yeah.
still here to all those that didn't, like, and you can see even the chat after that about what's going on there. Then that's what I say, the dynasty, it's well underway, it's well underway because they have to be looking at that because guys are getting older, it's a birth. You can't always be playing every time and be the
Mm.
one that's going to be. There's got to be other people that need to, like you say, they look like they've been there and they need to do what needs to be done, and I think for the most part against the Barbarians, that's what was done, and you're expecting to see more this coming weekend,
Yeah.
because you have to set the standards, and because
Mm.
it's building up to, also, big tests in the rugby championship as well, so yeah, looks good. Can't really complain, man. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
The only thing for me, some of the transformation targets, I don't feel like they're being hit. But that's a
yeah,
story. That's always a story for another
it
day.
is.
But
But the thing is we can't run away from it, because at the same time, it's like, there's enough black talent, and you would argue that in certain situations, yes, Tshituka is there, for example, as a new black player that's in there, but you'd feel like, there was a time where Gumete was looking like, and then he went to a certain union and, and
yeah.
for whatever reasons, we don't know, but it's not translating onto the pitch where he went from where he was basically, a regular in the squad, you know what I mean? Like, so, and this is the result where you see guys not getting picked, and it can be justified because it's like, no, but he's not playing. But when you look at certain circumstances, I'm just making an example. I'm not
Mm.
saying that this is the case with him per se, but you can, and you have to understand because more and more people, the kids, people want to see people that look like them. They want to see a proper representation, to say, yeah, yes, Ntlabakanye is there, he's the cult hero, and he's been building it up even from the Lions, where there's a lot of people you go to anyway, the Shell Garage, and not people saying Ntlabakanye, you know what I mean? So for real, so it must be a thing that we must not forget those
Yeah.
objectives, that we want to see, that we see it week in, week out, schoolboy rugby. You see that the
Mm.
talent is there. There are players, in the pipeline at those unions. It's just about opportunity, and also when the guys get the opportunities, they need to take them. And you know, the guys that have been given the opportunity have taken it. We just need to see more guys. That's the thing. We need to see more guys, and the guys also need to also make sure,
Yeah.
because you're also going to those schools. You know what I mean? You in those systems, you're there as well. So make sure, But at the same time, it's the people that are picking must also, you need to remember. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden a bad run of results, then it becomes really a big thing. So you need to. This is the
Yeah.
time
A lot
now,
of those
even.
things get papered over because we're winning. But
Yes.
yeah,
So we can't wait
moving.
until we are losing again, then to start raising those things. It must be now when things are hot, to say, hey,
Yeah.
you know, let get the operators in there. And we've seen the guys are operating, so they
Mm.
can operate. Let them. Let them.
Yeah, moving on to the game, just a backdrop. We have Kolisi that dropped out during the week.
Hmm.
Obviously, Van Staden coming in for him. Then we had Kriel taking over the captaincy. It was a fake captaincy. He'll get the real one this week. And
Yeah.
then fake debuts for Nklabakanye, uh,
Fake
Luet,
Davy.
Luit was back, Dupree back, Tshituka another fake debut. And yeah, like I said, the weather was against the whole match, but
Mm,
particularly against the Barbarians in that they would have wanted to run the ball. They do those trick plays. They don't have the preparation to get the set piece. So what they don't have in preparation, they try and make up for in skill and talent. And you know, typically would have selected players of a high caliber. I mean, there were guys of a high caliber here, but some of them
yeah,
slightly suspect, especially against a Bok team that have so much preparation and so much skill within
yeah,
the players. It was just a mismatch, and the weather didn't help.
mm. Yeah. They're up against the system, man. This is a system, and you guys know system, and system will always win in that case. And
Mm,
yeah, I mean, they didn't really get a snuff. Yes, few breaks here and there, and maybe on a
yeah.
different day they stick. It becomes a bit more of an excitement there. But like you're saying, the preparation of the box, the guys are not tired. The guys are working, chasing back. Closing the spaces. You see that off the ball. So hey, it's not like I say, it's the system, and what else did you expect? I know we all maybe expected to see a bit more from the Barbarians and disappointed by that, for sure. Is that,
Yeah.
but you have to also admire how the Springboks didn't allow them and how conscious the Barbarians were of the physicality of the Springboks. That's the reality of
Yeah,
it,
and the
because
Springboks also weren't playing around. They weren't there to also
because
say, let's
they and
also
they
just,
said and they said in
yeah,
the week, this is a test match for us. You know what I mean? So those
yeah,
guys,
we're
they knew
taking
that.
this thing seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at most of the tries, they're all coming from set piece. We're
yeah,
talking about mauls. I mean, even the
more,
first
yeah,
one, it's a maul try. That's
yeah.
not something that barbarian rugby. It's not something that
We
comes
don't
to your mind
train.
with that. It's like, but Springboks, like you said, it's a system, it's a process, and that's what they were following.
Yeah,
Um, First try could build up more set piece, more try. Um, Even the Colby try when Fassi put in that little kick, I think it was the
yeah,
second little kick that he put in behind.
mm,
Uh, there, good direction, good phases, go forward ball, fair flight there, leading the direction.
mm,
He's not, for me, that's one of the things that Hendrickse is more good at in terms of steering the ship and leading the direction of the team. But it was good to see that he also has that in his bag. And
yeah.
I'd say for him, he had a good outing. It's just
Powerful those box kicks sometimes.
no, but I was just about to say he'll be remembered for
Yeah,
the one bad box kick.
yeah, yeah,
Because if you
yeah,
look,
but
I watched the game the second time, and it's like he will be remembered for the bad box kick, but the rest of them were fine. I
yeah,
watched the game
yeah,
and I was like, everybody will say, except for that kick.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean that's the
So he
standard
did.
though.
He did. I think for me, the more concerning thing was that he gave away a few penalties. But I mean, that's also a thing about urgency and trying to press and just be a nuisance around the ball.
Yeah,
But he was decent. But I mean, the reputation is always going to follow him because people didn't want him there in the first place. So I think he
yeah,
was decent. Uh, yeah, and again, Barbarians' mall defense is just not going to be there. They simply don't have the time and preparation for that.
yeah, yeah. They tried, in terms of manage where they managed to, because also it was about that personal pride, but it was,
Mm,
you know, it just it wasn't happening for them, obviously without structure. And what I like, that Fasi's little kicks at the Sharks when he was doing that, it wasn't working out. Now it's a
yeah.
different environment. Maybe it's just a different little voice about execution of those. And you see it just, that was what, two on two, it stays in turning it to
And
two,
that's
three
the
on two with the
thing.
slide.
That's why
And
I say they worked it so that there was a 2-on-2. Maybe you're finding at the
mm,
Sharks they're doing it where there's more players. It's not a 2-on-2.
mm, so yeah, man, it was good to see because, like it's a system, So, what more do you say, Cordis, for a game like that? Because
Mm,
like, yeah, you can say, yeah, there's a few things, where in parts where the momentum, so where there really wasn't really any momentum for anybody, almost,
yeah.
where the game became a bit stale. You know, it's like those sort of moments where you want to see guys, sparking it up again, and
And the spark came. The spark
it did.
came in the second half when they brought on all the subs. But
mm,
I mean, before that, I just want to get to the point of the scrums. The scrums going well, sort of Springboks having the dominance in the first half, in Klabakanye and Ox.
mm,
Other things in the first half, Lewitt, you just see his value again in terms of the line out and big carries as well.
mm,
I for one, I mean, he just gave me a refresher, a reminder of what he brought to the team. But you're
mm,
talking about the team not necessarily having the spark. Second half, subs come in, bomb squad. Esterhazen comes in as a flank. More importantly, you turn to Mani Lubok as the
yeah.
spark, and he delivers.
Mm. You know, we for let's start with Libok, for him also to go into that situation already, whether it's said or not said, there's already that pressure and expectation and that
Yeah, he's number
yeah,
three.
he's number three and whatnot. But he came in there and he showed that, he can, you know, control a game, execute what he needs to execute, get those challenging kicks over, which, expect him to do so. But then yes, the subs, where you got a whole host of them coming on and yeah, like that's what you want from your bench, to come on and,
Yeah.
regenerate again, just regenerate and that's what helped them take that game away. I think there at the end it could have even been more, where more than it just didn't fall right for them. But yeah, after that little patch where, there wasn't momentum, and yes, the coaches, making the decisions.
And
But for me,
Sasha's looking a bit stale, eh? I won't lie. Sasha's. I mean, I'm not. It's no agenda. It's
yeah,
no.
yeah,
It's just towards the end of the season for the Stormers, and
yeah.
now it's not looking. I think. I mean, obviously, players could dip in and out of form, but
Mm,
he is looking like a. He's looking a bit stale.
yeah, look, maybe it's a bit of confidence as well, and also the weight of expectation starting to,
Yeah,
get get to him can also be that, or even maybe his own personal pressure that he's putting on himself. You could argue because he's still a good player, but I still yes think he's still got a lot to learn, still got a long way to go, and yeah, we shouldn't rush him because there is Pollard, there is money. You know what I mean? So he's got the luxury to actually, but not too much, but he's got the luxury to learn, and but
but my thing is now also he's now being considered as a competitor, if not the starter at 10. It's no
mm,
longer I'm filling in at fullback
mm,
when
mm, mm.
Willie Leroux is unavailable, Willems is unavailable, Fassi unavailable. So you're coming in at fullback, there's kind of more room. Now you're coming in at number 10, you're expected to be the one driving and leading the team.
Yeah.
So there's different expectations.
Mm.
And you're coming
But I
on the
mean,
back of a season
yeah,
that wasn't the best. So I mean, obviously he'll pick it up. He'll play himself into form.
yeah.
But money came on fire.
No, you did. And that's why I'm saying that, it's okay because money is there, so um, you know, he's got that luxury to almost find himself again, find that form, but
Yeah,
and whilst he's doing that, money can play. That's as simple as that, you know. I'm just putting it diplomatically that, this
yeah,
is, because like you say, it's not an agenda, it's just an observation, that this is where it's at. And if money can just continue, yeah, you know, I think he's got he's got something to say. He's got
yeah,
something to say, you know.
yeah. I think a lot more fluid with him in the back line, even running it back for that Arendse try
Mm.
with Dialende putting in that kick there. Also, Colby, I think, came more into the game as it went longer and longer, especially in the second half with that, receiving that up and under,
Yeah, yeah.
doing his
Ta,
thing. He was
ta.
big in
Hey,
that game. The steps, he showed
hey.
his value. But I mean, it's nothing new there with Colby.
Yeah.
Esterhazen, something new. Esterhazen playing flank. Uh, just again, we're talking about observations. The second front row that came on didn't do as good as the first front row. They conceded free kicks, penalties. Wessels was under pressure.
Mm.
The other thing, Esterhazen, you could see he was too high on the prop. You know, your
Yeah,
shoulders gotta be lower. But again, it's the guy's first time playing there in it's not a test, but sort of test level. So I'll
mm.
give him that they're still trying it out. And then he did fill in almost as a third center.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I think it was more about that, him filling in as a third center. Because usually you've always, had those comparisons where a center is almost playing like a six or
Yeah,
six is
yeah,
playing like a center. You know what I mean? So I think it was more about that, and he can also be good on the ball. But and then it's also another. If he can also play in tight. And that physicality that he has and the agility that he has, it's almost like a Quacha type of loose
yeah,
forward, in that he's a back and he can, work through those spaces, but then also popping up as a third center. I think that's really more the thinking about around that is the attack, because then you've also got that center that can take it in or also play with the hands and
yeah,
so yeah. I don't. I mean, it was the Barbarians. Like if you see it in a test match again,
yeah.
I think I'd be
You will
surprised.
see it. And this is my thing. These things become important more when you limit it to a squad. So, like going to a World Cup, like how
Yeah.
Van Staden had to go and switch and play hooker. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily important just game to game,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
unless you're doing 7-1 split, then maybe I can see it.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not. I mean, Rassi does all these crazy things. We just accept it because they're winning. But for me, I mean, I'm not necessarily a big fan of it. And it's going to be sensationalized and it's going to be like, wow, these guys are thinking outside the box and so on and so forth. But for
It
me,
already has been. Nah.
yeah, I don't necessarily see the value of it. I'd rather just have another flank. I'd rather just play him as a
Yeah.
center. I mean, you've seen, okay, worst case scenario, he can provide that value and that utility. But for me, I'm always gonna go for it's these are highly specialized positions.
Mm.
Highly
Mm.
specialized positions. It's like
Yeah.
you
And you're
get
reading
those
the
special
game
players.
differently as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get those special players like Dion Free that can play flank and hooker. And he can do it equally as well. Yeah, Derek Keane. You get those guys that can. He didn't do it at Bok level, but you get those guys that can do those sort of thing. And I don't
To
necessarily
read.
think that some of these players are at that level. I mean, it's like Vessels. They've tried to play him in his career. They've tried to
Yeah.
play him in all three front
Yeah.
row positions, more so number one and number two, and he's finding it hard at number one at this level.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's utility. I get it, but at the same time, it's like these are highly specialized positions, and I'd rather have the guys that are really focused and dedicated. I mean, even Esterhazen, you could see in the tight phases, yes, he can hang there against the Barbarians, but when it's really physical, when it's really tight, it's going to be more tough to operate in those kind of positions.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like for me to see it in a test match, you say yes. Look, we will see it. It will probably happen. But for me, it's like I don't think it's necessary. Because you can get the same utility out of a, a specialized or yeah, a specialist. That's playing that position. But has got certain attributes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I think that's really maybe what you're looking at is the attributes of the player. Is that if you're looking for a six that can be agile, carry the ball, but also another almost link, then
yeah,
you just got to look for a forward that's like that, and you think maybe okay, you can have a Hanoko when he's fit. For example, fulfilling that role. So you've got the guys are there. It's just I think it's just yeah, barbarians. And yeah, not making too much of it, honestly. Not really, because yeah, it's just the barbarians for me. As much as there was system, but yeah,
yeah. Moving forward, yeah, just takeaways. Like I said, obviously main talking points: Esterhazen at flank, and I've got here Boks just too prepared for this. And I mean the Barbarians, it's a thing of old, and with rugby becoming more professional year on year and year and year, there's even people questioning its place. But I mean, I'm still for it. It's
I
just
am too.
sometimes when you're playing against first game of the season, these guys are taking it seriously. They're looking at this
Yeah,
as like we're building towards something. It's not like last game of the season where it's just like guys, just
yeah.
go out and have just throw the ball around.
Yeah, so maybe I think that fixture is probably the timing around it, or
Hmm.
and depending on who they're playing against, you'd want to have it as a proper end of season game, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still for Barbarians. I like it, I like it, but yeah, I mean at the start of the season for the Springboks against the Springboks, fit, you know, like man,
And those guys, they're also drinking half of the week, so we must also take that
exactly.
into account.
You see, But even if though, like it's the Springboks' first game of the season, and they're at
Yeah.
home, you know. It's and they said they're taking this seriously. You know what I mean? Like, so come on, man.
Yeah, let's look at closing remarks. I mean, just going into this, we're gonna see Kriel captain for the first time. Tshituka first Bok cap. I don't know any closing remarks from you. What do you expect to see this coming weekend?
Cause me, I'm expecting more tries. You know, more tries, precision, and a big feast. Pasta and wine,
Yeah, I'm not even gonna act like it's gonna be competitive. Box.
and some garlic bread.
They'll disrupt, like what you said. They'll be more prepared. They'll disrupt more, but especially at Loftus, I'm expecting the weather to be better. I'm
Mm.
expecting that Loftus crowd to get involved. I'm expecting Springbok win, and it's gonna be. It's like yeah, we can act like Italy are there and thereabouts, and it's gonna be competitive, but it's
No, we
not.
just it's rugby values.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's it from us, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.